Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the It's Just Dinner podcast, where we're changing the dating culture one episode at a time.
How true, Sted. There was never a statement more true than that one, Tom.
You guys
one episode at a time.
You recognize that voice as my co-host, Bob Walls.
Tom, it is so great to be here. I cannot
How does it feel to
you.
change the dating culture one
It's
episode at a
satisfying.
time?
It's satisfying.
It's
very satisfying.
I like it.
I do, too.
I think we're doing some good.
Well, and this is a lot of fun. It's really fun to meet a lot of the students. We get a chance to interact with a lot of the people in the dating pool and talk about these issues, and it's amazing how many of them are interested in what we have to say.
Yeah. And people are recognizes. One of the guys we know said he was talking to some people and they recognized our podcast.
They did. I was just at a function last evening with the director of our school, dropping names here, and we were talking about this podcast. And his wife said, "Oh, yeah, one of my friends said that she listened to that podcast that Tom Robinson does, and it changed her life forever." And I said, "Wait a minute. I'm the co-host on that podcast."
It's not just Tom Robinson.
Yeah, it's not just Tom Robinson. She said, "Well, it was probably something you said." And I said, "Well, you're probably right."
Very kind.
No, but that was very...
changed her life forever.
Changed her life forever.
Wow.
I mean, how do you live up to that?
Jeez. Hey, Bob, right next to you is our good friend Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia, welcome.
Running our
Glad
board.
to have you.
There's their wave.
Good to be back.
Sophia met a lot of boys last night.
She did.
Yeah.
A lot of them met me.
Well, see, I don't think our viewers understand that last evening we were doing a live event.
It was.
At, tell me the name of that.
The Social.
The Social. That was kind of a cool place,
downtown
wasn't it?
Provo, beautiful place.
And there were about
100,
150 something people who came
there.
to that.
It was a big crowd.
Yeah, the food was good. I mean, it was a fun, and they had a live band there.
Live band there for us.
What was the name of their band?
Skyline.
Skyline. They were quite good.
What's that
What's that kid's name? Who's their lead singer?
Isaac.
Isaac. Yeah.
And they have a song out called Evil Knievel that you can go and check out and download. But it was a lot of fun. It was fun. We haven't done a lot of live events, but we want to do a lot more, and it was a great opportunity to get out and meet some of the
And so any restaurants that want to sponsor us, give us free food or anything, we will mention their name on this podcast.
And we'll talk to it and let all of our listeners
I mean,
know.
Jurassic Taco, they don't even sponsor us, but I still promote them
We do.
for
You
free
love them.
because I love the keto taco. I go there like once a week to get that keto taco. It's the best thing in town.
Best thing ever.
But if they don't pay us, I'm going to stop saying those good things about
We should go
them.
over and see if we can do another live event there.
Let's do that.
Well, Bob, I have something interesting I thought would be really fun today.
As you do on every podcast.
I always ask for questions to come in.
Yeah.
And so now I have a whole stack of questions.
Good.
I actually have two. This stack,
Two stacks.
for people watching, this stack is online dating questions.
Oh.
And these are just regular general
dating questions.
dating
Well,
questions.
okay. So
So
it's
I
fun to
thought what
compare
we
and
would do is
contrast.
I would read these and then we can answer them. So we're
If
gonna,
we can.
And again,
we're going to have to
Sophia-
rely on Sophia a lot on this.
Sophia
kind of
is
stuff,
going to
'cause-
represent all the women in the world.
and the younger people of the world,
Yeah.
because our answers might, be
old,
historically accurate, but maybe not pertinent.
Yes. So she's going to make sure we get
Okay.
corrected.
Good.
Keep you on track.
Thank you so much.
Don't worry.
My sound is going kind of in and out. Is anybody
No,
else's?
it's not. It sounds
Okay.
just fine. He's like got this paranoia about his
I
sound. He
want to
sounds
make sure
just fine.
I sound good.
You sound great.
All right, Bob, you ready for
I'm
the
ready.
first question? Bob and Sophia, here we go. Question number one is, I thought I'd come out swinging here.
Oh.
How do I get out of a date?
Ooh.
So
that
so
is
they
not
have-
the question that most of our listeners have.
No, and I just thought it would be fun to start with that one.
Yeah,
So
okay.
you've accepted a date, and now you've decided you don't really want to go on the date. How do you get out of that?
That's
Is
that's just a-
I'm sick
no this
not going to work?
Well, there's a lot of things that you could do to get out of it. I mean, it's not. This is a question of character. That's what this comes
It
down
is.
to. It's a question of character. If you've accepted to go on a date with someone and just at the last minute you think, I don't want to go. If something legitimately comes up, you've got a test or you've got, activity that's conflicting, then you just be honest and you go to them and you say, look, I have to go to take my mom to the hospital. Or
But what if they don't like the person?
well,
What
then
if they decided they don't
how do
want
they
to
know
go?
that they don't like
See,
them?
you're not answering the question.
Well, no, I'm answering the question.
I know,
The
you're
answer to
saying
the
be
question
nice
is,
and go.
is don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Don't accept a date with someone
I
and
agree.
then back out of it for no good reason.
I 100% agree. Sophia, what do you think?
Oh my goodness.
Is it the I need to wash my hair night?
That would be a stretch. No, this is a personal goal of mine because I definitely struggle with this because I have a hard time saying no to people. And so, but I don't like going on things. And originally, my freshman year of college, I would just go on a lot of dates. And it was awesome until it wasn't awesome. And then I went on a lot of dates I didn't want to go on. And then it was really uncomfortable. And so I'm trying to be better about saying no. But sometimes in the moment, it's so hard. And you don't want to
tell them. And that's the thing you just have to work on is being present in the moment.
Yeah. And you just have to say no.
Or you could say, well, that sounds fun. Let me check my schedule and I'll let you know. I'm not sure what I've got planned. Can I get back to you? And then you can have some time to think about it. And then if you don't want to, then you can say, well, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm sorry.
So there we go. Don't accept a date.
Be honest.
Don't want to go on the date.
Just
and
be
then
honest.
Be honest.
Okay.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Yes.
Of course.
All right. Here we go. And this is the reason I'm asking this is because we already know the answer and it's kind of fun. At what point can I leave on a date?
Can I leave? 51 minutes.
51 minutes.
You look at your clock, man. If it's 51
minutes
and you haven't had a spark,
go.
you just get up and walk out of there.
I agree.
You don't
51
pay
minutes.
the check and get out of town.
We already have research to back that one up. And that one is you just step out quietly. Just say thank you so much for the date. I really appreciate it. It was great to get to know you. And I hope I see you again.
Now, in order to do this, it takes a little bit of advanced preparation.
Well, you have 25 minutes to.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that if you have gone and picked them up and brought them there, it's a little harder to say, get up and say, well, see you later.
Yeah.
And so if you're smart about this, you say, we're going to meet someplace. Right. And then if things are not going well at some point, even if it's before 51 minutes, you can say, this isn't going too well, or I've got to go, or something like that.
So what happens if you're on a date, like you've maybe gone out to dinner already, now you're on a date, and it just is not the guy you thought it was, or it's not the girl you thought it was,
right?
And you want to get out of this date?
Well,
I mean, what do you do? Do you have the roommate call you and say, "Hey, there's an emergency. You need to get home right now." Sophia's shaking her head.
That could work. But again, let's come back and. So is it because you came and you sat down and they were not as good looking as you thought?
No, they were not the person that you thought, and they just and we've had these bad date stories where they come on and they do something nuts, and you're like, okay, I got to get out of this.
Just slip out the back, Jack. Just make a new plan, Stan.
See,
I'm quoting a song from way before you were born.
There's
a guy named Paul Simon. Have you ever heard of him? Okay, there's 50 ways to get out of a date. Yeah. There's more than 50 ways.
So. I don't know. I think that, again, it's politeness that you have to go home. But I do think I've heard many people say they have the roommate call, and it's like, there's an emergency. Okay, I'm sorry, I really have to get home. So,
and that's one way to do it. I think you need to be graceful in all things. And so, there's the direct approach of just saying, well, it depends on what's happened. If this person is rude or this person is condescending or you don't feel safe, then you're just free to say, look, this isn't going well. I'm going to leave.
I need to go home.
And that's fine.
You like the honest approach, don't you?
Well, I think that's best in everything, don't you? Isn't that what Jesus taught?
The guy that supports...
it's not me. It's not really like my plan, but,
the guy that likes kissing is also sneaky.
Yeah. And so I think... Other than that, if it's just that the conversation isn't going really well or you're just not connecting, you just kind of bide your time and be nice and try to do something kind for another person. You accepted to go on this date, especially if they're paying for it. Right. Then I think you owe them at least to kind of stay at least 51 minutes.
Right.
And
then bow out gracefully.
And then bow gracefully and say, this was really fun. It was good to get to know you, and I've got to go.
Isn't that it's just dinner concept altogether?
Yes, just go out to dinner and get to know them.
It should be just dinner. Yes. And so if it's just dinner, then you can just bite the bullet and survive for an hour. The only times I've had to escape is if it's past 4 hours and I didn't want it to be that long. No. But I think if you're having a really good time, you should be able to spend time with them more.
I agree.
It should be an extension. It shouldn't be the plan.
I agree.
Right. Or even if you're having a marginally good time, you can stick it out for an hour to have dinner.
As long as you know what the plan is.
But that's why you don't do stupid things. And I apologize to some of our previous guests. You don't say, well, yeah, I'd like to go to a concert, and you're gone for 8 hours. You drive to southern Alberta or something. I mean, it's you got to be smart enough with someone that you don't know very well to engage in something that's going to be a long period of time. So, I think it depends on the situation. But there's nothing wrong if you're feeling unsafe or you're feeling mistreated, you're feeling disrespected, there's nothing wrong at any time to say, look, this just isn't working out. And thank you, but
I'm more sneaky.
But I'm going to go, and will you get the check?
All right, next one. How soon after a date should I send a follow-up text?
Okay, Sophie,
we talked about this.
Sophia, we're going to have to go with you on this because this is not part of our culture.
I think personally, like an hour afterward, it doesn't really make like a huge difference to me. But I think like sending a text is so nice, and yeah. I always try to do that.
I told Bob we used to hate the idea of the after date text.
Yeah, we did. We thought it was stupid.
And then I got in that situation and found out how really important it is.
Tom did extensive research on this topic.
Personal research, but I think like you, I think an hour is a good time. What if you don't like the girl or guy? Do you just not send it? I think it's a really good.
That would be fruitless because if you sent the text, it would indicate that you did like them. That would be a false narrative to,
right?
Because now you're giving them hope when really you're never going to accept another date with them again. You don't need to say I'm never accepting another date with you again. That would be a bad text.
Yeah, but no text, and this is how I feel because I've done it. No text is a message.
Yes, it is. It's we study this in communication. Even everything is communicating something. And so if they send you a text and you don't respond, that says something too, doesn't it? If you say, hey, I had a great time, and the person doesn't respond, that's saying something, isn't it?
It's true. It just happened to me. That's fine.
There you go.
Who is
happens
this?
To the best of us.
Who is this guy?
I'd like to know his name.
We'll hire some wranglers and go give him a visit.
No, it was nice. It was nice because he didn't. I preferred it because I get the honesty thing, but I much prefer someone just didn't say anything than if he sent me a text of all the things that he probably found annoying about what I did.
This is what this person did. This?
No. Oh. They didn't say anything. It was like an hour after, and I was like, that was really fun. Thank you. And I just
nothing.
And then nothing. And I was like, okay. That's totally fine.
Good. I'm glad you're getting that message because I think after the first date, the first dinner, I think it's okay to just not respond.
Yeah.
Well, if it didn't go well.
You get less feelings hurt that way. All right, next one. How do I stop feeling awkward on dates?
Well, the first thing you do, I have a formula for this. The number one thing you do is stop feeling awkward.
And that's because that's in your head.
Right.
But what if you are awkward?
Then there's nothing you can do.
Well, what I would say, my thing was I'd say practice.
Well,
how?
You get better. The more confident you get, the less awkward you get.
But there's more to this. Okay, so a lot of not feeling awkward is being able to communicate with people in a natural way. And so a lot of what we have is a lot of people aren't experienced at sitting down with someone and having eye-to-eye conversation.
Right.
And so there was a young man that I knew who was very awkward in this. And so we talked about this, and I said, practice having conversations with people that you're not romantically interested in. Have a conversation with your sister and make eye contact and listen to what she's saying. And as you have conversations with other people that are not in a dating. Good advice. And that helps you to learn how to have a conversation with someone.
Yes.
And then you're not thrown into the situation where you're on a date and there's all this pressure. And so that's why you feel awkward. And so a lot of people are not good at interpersonal communication, and it takes practice to do that. And so many people in their developmental years between 12 and 18, for some reason, I don't know why, were not given the chance to have interpersonal interaction with members of the opposite sex. And so sitting down and just
very awkward when they start trying to do it.
So sit down and have a conversation with someone who's close to your age, or your mom or your sister or anybody, where you practice eye contact and you practice listening and you practice asking them questions about things that interest to them.
See,
and not talking about yourself.
That's what I said, is it just takes practice. So you do what you're talking about, and then I think every time you go out with a girl, you get better at it, and you feel less awkward.
Or every time you have a conversation with someone where you make eye contact and you listen, you're going to get better.
You put to practice it.
Right. And maybe you're not a talker. I think it's fine to just be yourself. I think a lot of people think if you are not super outgoing, then you're awkward. But I don't think so. There's a lot of quiet people that aren't necessarily awkward. They're just not as good as at talking, but they're good at other things. And so I think something that's helped me with my life in general to just feel more like a successful, confident person Not that I'm like a successful, confident person per se, but something that helps me get there.
That's our perception of you.
Well, thank you.
I mean, you're a military officer. You're a black belt in karate. You've got assault weapons. I mean, you seem to be a very confident.
All right, the next one here. You ready? This one, I'd be interested in seeing what you think on this one. What do guys think is the most attractive thing in order to get them to ask you out on a date?
Okay, this is interesting. We've actually done some research on this.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to this. When it comes to guys, appropriate touching. And they have found, they've actually done research on this, that when a woman touches a man on the arm or on the hand, it stimulates them to, it gets interest in them.
Right.
And it makes them feel a connection.
And that's, and last week, Laura Welch told us that that's flirting.
Yeah.
And so it's a non-sexual flirting that gets their attention.
It's a non-sexual thing, but it's really important for men because that sense, that's kind of one of their love languages, is that sense of touch.
Right.
And so they want to feel connected. For women, sometimes that's a little scary for them. But for men, that touch of someone just touching their arm or their hand, that really kind of
shoots
draws
a lightning bolt through their body.
And I don't think women understand this. If they did, they would do it more. But there's so much importance to that because it's a physical connection that leads to an emotional connection for men.
Right.
And so that...
I also think there's this idea that everyone likes to talk about themselves. So if you engage this young man into a conversation where he's talking about himself, he begins to like you more.
Right. Correct.
And, all right, so what do you think, Sophia? What could you do to make yourself more attractive to a guy? And I'm not talking about beauty and the clothes you wear, but what makes him more interested, you know?
I would love to know, actually. But I think, like, doing something, like I was saying before, doing something that you're good at, I think, like, especially, I mean, this goes for guys or girls. If you're going on a date and you're planning the date and you're nervous or you want to look good, then do something that makes you look good. That poor guy on that bad date story that was terrified of haunted houses and went to a haunted house, that's just not his thing. Maybe he's the best artist that there has ever been, and she's just going to see him as some terrified little kid because he went to a haunted house. But if he'd taken her to an art studio, then maybe they would have
been in his element.
So just do something that you're good at. Don't go rock climbing and have her watch you, but do something you're good at.
Well, I think confidence. I think looking into his eyes. I think
we come back to eye contact. And the other thing is, this applies to both men and women, being positive. And so when you're around people who are positive, you tend to like them more, and they make you feel better.
Right.
When you're around people who are negative, it has the opposite effect. Oh, this is such terrible weather today. I'm so sick of winter. I hate it. Oh, I hate living in Utah. I did it. That is not going to make people endeared to you.
It's so true.
But when you say, it's cold outside, but man, this snow is beautiful. And I'm not from here, but I've just learned to love here. These mountains are gorgeous. It's not where
you're making me more attracted to you.
Well, there you go. It's a little scary, but being positive in your conversation is the way that you get people to respond to you in a positive way.
I agree.
So there you go, Sophia. Put out is what you're going to get.
Give
back.
That a try.
Yeah, I do need. I'm kind of a whiner, so I'm working on that.
Okay. All right. Next question, Bob. How do you know if someone is into you?
Well, I think
it's kind of the same thing, right?
Well, it's because they do all these things that we just talked about.
Right.
They make eye contact. They listen to you.
I think
give you
get
compliments.
Close.
They're positive to you. There's appropriate touch.
Yeah, they're a little closer than they used to be. I think that's one way.
We talked about this the other day, leaning into you.
Right. Touching, like the shoulders touching.
And they've actually done studies on this, that people who are attracted to each other mirror each other's movements. In many cases, and so when they're
if you move closer, then she'll move closer.
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of cues that are on that. If you're a guy and you say something that's mildly funny and she really laughs, she is really into you.
That's true.
If she's laughing at all your jokes, man, she likes you.
Yeah. If she's just giving you a pity laugh.
Or on the other side, if you find yourself laughing at everything that he says, he is really into you, because there's nothing that guys like more than girls who laugh at their jokes.
Yeah.
So
I agree. All right, here we go. This is going to be interesting. So we had a date. You had fun. She said she had fun. Where do you go from this point? Oh.
Okay.
So we go out. Let me set the stage.
Yes.
We go out to dinner.
All right.
Really nice dinner.
Okay.
Not, we had a great conversation. We had great
Good
food.
Meal.
Everything went well. She went home. I went home. She said, "Thank you so much. I had a great time."
Yes.
You get the after date text.
Yes.
That said, "Thank you so much." You text back.
Yes.
Now what?
Well,
last night you weren't there.
Yes.
Remember the people that we were talking to that said he called her for a second date? He actually got on the phone and called her.
Yeah.
I congratulated him. That is the most genius thing that I've ever heard of.
Well, we lived back in the day when that was really the only option you had, except for me, it was you call her dad.
Yeah, well.
Because he'd answer the phone.
See, I told you had to get through the dad.
Sophia there? Well, but yes, just a minute. Let me get her. Who's this anyway? Oh, this is Tom. I went on with her. You did? Well, now, what kind of a young man are you, Tom? You had to go through the dad or the brothers. And so it is so much better today to just be able to send a text because it goes straight to the person.
Right.
And nobody else is privy to this.
She told us last night that she really liked it. It meant a lot to her. And you remember Kristen Metzger that came on, who was the matchmaker. She said that's the best thing to do.
Right. And the reason why is it because it shows intent. Yeah. It shows that I wanted to talk to you so much, I didn't want to go through this texting thing. I just cut through it all and I called you on the phone.
And the voice is much different because we were talking about last night is that you can't show emotion in a text. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's taken wrong.
But you can't show emojis in conversation.
No,
so now we're going to debate texting versus voice.
So where do we go from here? I mean, I think calling is great. So you go ahead and ask for the second date. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, ask how they're doing first. I really think I know people are nervous, but I think first of all, calling is always so much better because it just shows that you want to talk to them. And then sometimes I don't think I like somebody that much. Like I'll go on a date and I'll be like, that was fun, but I'm not sure how much I like them. And then I'll see a text or they'll call me and I realize I got really excited and I was like, oh no, I guess I did.
I guess I had more fun than I was letting on.
Yeah, so I think you just call them and ask how they're doing. And then I think during the first date, something I've noticed guys have done is I'll talk about something like a restaurant or a movie or whatever it is. And they'll go, we should do that.
That's genius.
And they say that. And then first of all, it helps me to know that they're having a good time.
Yes, yeah.
Second of all, it's like we already have an inside joke. The person that was on the podcast last time talked about how important inside jokes are. As soon as you establish that was so true. That really helps because then you can call them and be like, remember how you told me about that movie? We should go see that movie. Mm-hmm. And then it's just seamless.
That's absolutely genius.
It is. And just another suggestion here. So you've gone out to dinner and, people are on limited budgets and things like that. So if things went really well and you both had a good time, you could say something like, hey, I'm going to walk over to the Hillbilly Library or something later today. Do you want to go over there with me? Mm-hmm. Because, see, now you're indicating that you want to be with them, but you're not saying it has to be dinner or a movie or something that's going to cost money. So now you're going to see them in a totally different environment. So now you're going to go to, it doesn't have to be the library. It could be anywhere that you're going to. And, I have to go to Walmart to buy, socks. Here's any, do you want to go with me? And so anything that you can invite them to do with you, you're going to really see, do they want to be with you?
Right.
And so the event isn't really that important. It's just being together. And so if they say yes to that, that means that you really likely have a connection. Because if they'll go with you to do some mundane thing just because they want to be with you, that's a real indicator that the first date went well.
Right. Well,
that's true.
There you go. Guys, man up.
Take her to Walmart.
Take her to Walmart. All right, so this next one is, why do guys feel they need to talk to a girl but then ghost them and officially date another girl right after?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I have never figured this one out, and I feel like this is using a girl.
Well,
and it's, so you go out or you talk to this girl, maybe you're online chatting with her, and then all of a sudden just ghost her. And then the next thing she finds out is that you're in a serious relationship now with someone else.
Okay, so there's two sides to this. On
two sides to every story.
Yes, there are. And the yin and the yang. That's what we explore here on the It's Just Dinner podcast. So on one side, you have no commitment to this person. You're not dating. You're not engaged. You have no reason to not date other girls. That you have made no commitment to this person, that you're not going to be exclusive with them.
Right.
And so there's nothing wrong with you dating multiple people.
Right.
And so, when someone who's getting upset about that, they're putting too much emphasis on a relationship that hasn't consummated.
Right, but I get this feeling on this that she felt like there's some kind of a relationship.
Well, apparently
he's building it up. He's building it up to where that she thinks he's going to ask her out, and they could start dating. Okay. And then all of a sudden she's like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Are you okay? And then nothing.
Well, see, the ghosting is the part of it here. Yeah. There's no reason to do that. But then on the other side of this equation, there's the bigger and better deal that some people, both men and women, that they're dating someone, but they're always thinking someone better is going to come along.
Right.
And so they're just think, well, maybe tomorrow I'll meet somebody that I really like. This person's fine, and they're a good placeholder. But if I meet somebody I really like, and so if that happens, how do you let the other person down?
Right.
And so a lot of dating is you being interested in people who are not interested in you, and having people you're not interested being interested in you. And so you're kind of fighting this battle between those two, and it is very difficult.
Right.
It's very challenging. And so ghosting is a very cruel way to do that.
Yeah, especially if right. the young woman or the young man feels like there's some kind of a relationship going on. Maybe you've been talking for weeks, and then all of a sudden you stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very painful
yeah.
and hurtful. So
don't hurt people.
Yeah. Be kind. We've talked about, how many times do we talk about that?
So many times. I can't even count the number of times.
All right, I'm going to switch over now to online dating real quick.
All right.
And I would like to point out that I am very pro online dating.
You've told me this many times, and I have really no opinion on this, so we're not going to have the online dating debate.
I wish we'd have a debate here.
You're not going to suck me into that.
So I have some online dating questions, because we have a lot of people out there that are dating online.
Okay.
So how do you build trust with someone or show them that you are trustworthy on online dating? So now you're looking at your profiles, and you want the young woman to know that you're legit, you're nice, you're trustworthy. How would you do that? Well, we immediately look over at Sophia?
No, well, we had an expert on this on online dating come on, and they talked about several things. One of those is the photographs that you put up.
Right. Oh, important.
And so those photographs need to be representative of who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a variety of photos that show you in different settings and different attire, but they need to be reflective. Don't use a photo that's 10 years old. And don't use a photo when you're in a big group of people. And don't wear a mask, because that's the first indication. If your photographs betray you, you've already lost trust at the very beginning. You can't go beyond
and
that.
then I think the next thing to do is to create an honest profile.
Yeah.
Now, there are lots of things that we've heard of recommendations to do with your profile, humor and other kinds of things. But I think be honest so that it sounds real.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because you can sound really fake online. And there's some things that no person can live up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you sound really fake. So I think you create a very honest, funny, interesting one. And then I think in online dating, the next step is once you match, is to chat. And I think that's where you have an opportunity to show that you're trustworthy. Would you agree? Sophia, you're an online dating expert. So.
No.
She's the most expert in this
room. Yeah, well, I don't know.
That's
true. I was
going
to say, it's definitely not me out of the three of us. But I do think there's a couple of things. The humor is good. The different kinds of pictures are good. I think one thing that helps is just the lack of bloody carcasses going on. There's a lot of guys that like hunting, which I get.
Well, she looks at a unique.
Are you online dating on farmers.com?
No,
she's on the wrong website.
No,
there are a lot of hunters in Utah, but
there's a lot of hunters.
I'm on that new dating site. It's called PTSD.com.
Yeah.
No, but legitimately, that's totally fine if that's something you like to do and you want a picture of your whatever it is that you.
Well,
caught.
he is being honest with you.
No, which is totally fine.
That's a little too honest,
But
he's looking for a girl that hunts.
And the fish thing.
You ever dressed a deer?
No. Literally, though, you'd laugh, but it's I think there's just a line, and I think guys don't realize it because they see a huge, bloody, broken open deer, and they're like, "Oh, that's such a good those are such nice racks." But girls don't necessarily, even if girls hunt, they don't want to see a picture of your huge, like the guts of your deer. Maybe the head. If they like hunting, you can hold up whatever it is.
Hunters.
But just beware of that.
Advice.
Okay. Just know.
Yeah. Well, and I can see, probably at that moment that was the greatest photo of their life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so they're thinking, if she really loves me, she needs to know who I am.
Yeah, which is fine. Then do a picture of you and your gun. Not fine. But don't do the deer.
No, not you and a gun.
Or something. If they're passionate about it.
It's wrong on so many levels.
So, yeah, that's pretty weird. Yeah. So don't be weird, guys. I mean, be honest.
Seriously, are you saying that there's people who put themselves holding a gun on a dating profile?
Like, I would say over 45%.
No,
come on.
No, I'm not being dramatic. I wouldn't have brought it up if it wasn't an issue.
All right, everybody, you write a comment in on that, and let's find out if Sophie is correct or not.
I don't doubt her because she's never. I've got a high degree of trust.
I think what we should do sometime is have Sophia bring a dating app in, and then let's just flip through it with her and look at the pictures
and judge them and judge the people in the pictures.
whether or not she should try to make a connection.
As you know, that's one of our favorite things to do is pass judgment on people.
Okay.
All right, next question. When should someone start online dating? Like, should it be the backup to meeting people in person, or should it be the go-to dating form?
That's a really good question. And we've addressed this many times with people, and it all depends on your situation. So if you're a college student, every day you're going to classes, you're going to the library, you're eating at cafeterias, and you have a chance to engage because of proximity with a lot of different people. If you're working, you're at an office and you're meeting people and you're going to lunch, but you're still not meeting as many people. If you are working in a job where you don't meet a lot of people, where else are you going to meet people? The gym? No. The grocery store? No. And so online dating becomes your best alternative.
Right.
Because you have a chance to engage and meet people that you might have a connection with that you otherwise wouldn't do.
Now, one of the things I've said is that online dating gives you an opportunity to meet people that are a far distance away from you, that you would have never had the opportunity to meet.
No.
And also people of different cultures, different backgrounds that you would never have run into.
No.
But you have the opportunity to meet them online.
Yeah.
And I'd give you an example. My wife and I met online, and we lived an hour apart. I would have never met her. I would have never come across her. But we connected online, and so you have an opportunity to meet someone that you would never walk into or
Sophie,
run
I'm
into.
just going to say, Tom's wife, Sandy, is delightful. Have you met his wife, Sandy?
I haven't, but I've heard good things.
Is delightful.
She's pretty wonderful.
He is punching way above his weight on this, I'm telling you.
Very.
So if this is an example of what happens in online dating, I highly recommend.
So what about the young adults? Should they forget online dating and just concentrate on in person, or should you? I mean, I think you should do both.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you should try to meet people, and I think it should be at the same time. But I don't think there's anything wrong with flipping through and trying to find people that you have an honest connection with.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're meeting people all the time because of proximity, you're probably not going to rely on that as much.
Right.
And so if you're not, then that seems to be, how else does a city girl like Sophia meet a country boy from Daggett County who's just killed a big buck? I mean, how else does that happen?
That's a really good question. This one is interesting because it kind of goes along with it. Do you think it's healthy for people to only meet people online through dating apps?
I don't think it's not unhealthy.
I don't either.
I mean, for the reasons that we just stated.
And you also said that when you're older and you're out working, you're very limited on the people that you're with. So I don't think it's unhealthy. Here's the thing, and you and I have talked about this many times, that I like dating apps. I'm very pro dating apps if they're used to go to dinner.
Right.
That's when I like them.
In a safe environment.
And that's for the men and the women.
It is.
You meet someone, you chat with them, you text them, you maybe talk to them on the phone, and then you meet for dinner. And you sit down for an hour, and you have dinner. And then we know at 26 minutes, you know if there's a spark. And if there's a spark, then you go 2 hours or 3 hours and you talk.
Well, as long as
you'd like. But I think dating online is healthy if it's used correctly.
And it's interesting. We've seen this over time. It's just like when any new technology first came out. I remember people were telling me you should never have an internet connection in your home for any reason. I actually heard that.
You are old.
Well, that's it was Brigham Young who said that. I think. And And so every time new technology comes out, there's a sense of fear.
Right.
So you remember the fear that we had before online dating, you know, when people would say, how'd you meet? Oh, well, we met online. And it was like people were sheepish about it. And now it's more common for people to meet online than not online.
Right.
And so you just have to be smart about it. Like any new technology, you have to be smart in how to use it correctly. Right. And the way you use it correctly is to make sure you don't put yourself in a situation where you can get injured, you can get hurt emotionally or physically.
There is one question in here, and that is, why do people think that, or they act ashamed that they met the person that they're dating online?
And we're seeing less and less than that. It used to be, 5-10 years ago, you'd say to people, oh, well, how did you meet? Oh, well, we met on a dating app, and it was like an embarrassing thing, like, one of those marriages.
But it's not that way anymore, is it?
That's how everybody...
So I don't think you should be ashamed of it. Yeah. I met my wife online.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you ashamed if you met someone online?
Not necessarily.
Would you announce that to all your friends? Hey, we met online.
At your wedding? This is my fiance. We met online.
I didn't grow up with like a huge like social media online presence, like positivity. So I personally am getting used to it. Conceptually, when other people say it, I don't feel like embarrassed for them at all. But I'm definitely getting over myself just because it is new. Mm-hmm. That I'm not necessarily embarrassed, but it's not something that I think I would be I would announce to everybody that I met. But I don't think I would announce anything
Well, at your wedding, would you say, I'm so grateful that he and we met online.
I'm so
got the date.
We would like to dedicate this first dance to Tinder.
So, I'd just be happy I was getting married at all. So.
I think people have to get over it. I think it's a great way to
most
meet
people. Have already gotten over it. So if you're not over it, get over it.
All right, couple more. This one says, online dating is for desperate people. Change my mind.
Change his mind?
Yeah.
Well, I think we just did that in the last 10 minutes. There's no reason to...
I don't think you have to be desperate to try to find someone online. I don't think there's anything wrong with finding someone that you genuinely have a connection with. Mm-hmm. And that you have the same interest, you have the same likes, you have the same dislikes, and you think it might be fun to get to know this person. I don't find it desperate. Do you find it desperate?
I don't think so. I think it makes it easier for people that aren't as outgoing, especially. And so, I think this person that wrote that is probably really outgoing, and so it's easier for them to meet people. But for people, it's hard to meet people, the circumstances you were talking about, it's just the only way. How else are you going to? And so, yeah.
I think people feel like this, though. I think there's a lot of people that feel, well, I have to be really desperate if I'm going to go online and find someone to date. And I think that's just a silly way to think about it.
I think the underlying problem here is the judgmental nature of that statement. To judge other people and say they're desperate, because that means that you're not desperate to find.
Right, exactly.
Everybody is trying to find a connection with someone, whether it's friendship or it's marriage. We're all looking for friends because that's what brings us happiness in our life. So to say that people are desperate because they're using one of the greatest inventions in the history of the world to connect with other people and find friends, how is that desperate?
Yeah, it's not.
So get over yourself, whoever wrote that question. Don't ever write to us again.
Terrible. Okay, last one before we have to shut this down for this. And this has been fun. Do you like this?
This is a lot.
I have a lot of extra.
Every show we do is fun. Having fun. One episode. No, that's not how it goes.
Now, I think that this happens between both girls and guys. Okay. But this one, it appears to be written by a guy.
Sloppy handwriting.
And he has said this. He says, why do women continue to use Mutual or any other dating app even though they're not serious about going on dates or making a connection?
I have serious about going on a date with you.
Yeah. There you go. That's how I interpreted it.
I have heard this from both sides, and I have heard lots of examples where someone is on Mutual, and they are, and really maybe it's that they're thinking there's somebody else that's better, but they act like they're not really interested, and so they'll ghost you, or you'll find someone that you really like, you connect with, and you send them a message, hey, I think we have a connection, and then you get nothing from them. Now, because there's some dating apps where you swipe, and they have to swipe too before you match. So what that tells you is the person thinks you have a connection. Then you send them a message and nothing. Completely nothing. And I don't understand that. If a guy and a girl connect with each other and one of them sends a message, you should respond to that. Otherwise, why did you swipe on them in the first place? So I don't like that kind of thing very much.
No, and believe me, I understand that there's two sides to this. One, there's pain associated with rejection. And anytime anyone, male, female, old, young, goes through the rejection, there's pain associated with that.
Right.
So it's no fun to put yourself out there and then be rejected, because you're taking a big risk by putting yourself out there, by putting your profile. And then if no one accepts your dates, there's a sense of rejection that is overwhelming. Right. And so on one side, that's devastating. But the other side, and I was just... we're doing some research for another class today, and there was a poem that I was reading about changing the world, and it turns out that the key to changing the world is first changing yourself. And so I think that this person and other people need to look internally. Who are you rejecting?
Well,
what is your behavior like? When you're swiping left and you expect all the supermodels to be picking you, who are you rejecting that you don't want to get to know?
But you have to think about this, though, is that when I swipe, the other person has to swipe me as well.
Exactly.
Then it comes up as there's a connection.
Right.
And so both people have interacted with the swipe. So I've said, hey, I would like to meet you. And they said, well, I'd like to meet you too.
Right.
And so then you message them and there's nothing.
Oh, and then they don't respond.
Yeah. And so
they're actually doing you a favor in that case. But you might go back and look at your profile. You might go back and re-examine how you're representing yourself.
Right.
There's a lot of things that you can look internally. There's nothing you can do to change the other person. Learn that now, because when you get married, you find that out really quickly.
I think
you cannot change the other person. You can only change yourself.
And I think that's a really good point, is that I think we've got to get to the point in our online dating and our personal dating that if the person doesn't respond,
right,
there's something has gone on. Right. And either they've changed their mind and they're not interested, or something else has happened.
They've been abducted.
Something else has happened in their life. So I think we have to get this idea that when they're not responding or they don't respond, they're not interested.
Right.
So move on.
Or that not interested, but that somehow there's something wrong with you.
Well, it could be you, or just could be that they
see, he was trying to say me personally. He was trying to focus on me. But I think that when you allow this to cause you anxiety, then you're going too far. You just have to, it's like baseball. You're just going to get up at bat, and sometimes you're going to strike out, and sometimes you're going to walk, and sometimes you get a base hit. And so you just got to keep going to bat, because when you get to the point where it hurts so bad that you quit, that's when your life goes
terrible.
Spiraling down.
So I think the moral to this is, Sophia, you can't quit.
She's not quitting. She's not a quitter. Semper Fi.
Yeah, listen, this is my receptionist. Yeah, we're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing great. Well, I think we've come to the end here.
This is how the show ends. We just say, well, we're at the end of the show now.
But I was going to say, I think that I can't believe that we've got 45 minutes of just pure successful advice.
And people who listen to this, their lives are going to be changed,
absolutely.
Forever.
And I think we've answered all their questions, now I do have a ton more that we'll get to later. So stay tuned for more answers to your dating questions. These were good questions.
These were good questions. Usually we get a lot of lame questions, but these were actually good questions.
Yeah, I didn't read any silly ones.
I think
our
podcast is educating the public so that we're getting a better brand of questions that are coming back.
And I would say, guys and girls, when you're listening out there, all we're trying to do is help.
Yeah.
We're trying to help you get over the awkwardness, trying to get over the situations where people are ghosting you, trying to give you more confidence. And so all that we're trying to do on this podcast is really help you and help you in your future. And like Bob just said, it's so that you don't quit. Mm-hmm. It's so that you don't sit in your apartment alone, all by yourself, and sinking in the deep hole of despair. Mm-hmm. So get out, find someone online, go meet, have dinner, talk to someone. It's way more fun to have dinner with someone than it is to sit home alone.
And even if all that results from this is a friendship that lasts for an hour, that's a
great
reward.
Because what was it that Brian Howie said? If it doesn't work out, you at least got pizza.
That's right.
which I love. So, well, hey, thank you guys for listening. Bob, thank you for all your great comments.
It's been a pleasure.
Wow, Sophia,
pleasure.
you represented the women well. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. So thank you guys for listening. Every Friday we put out a new podcast, and we would love for you to follow and make comments and help us to make a better podcast for you. You can, Bob, did you know you were on Instagram?
I believe that I was aware of that.
We are on Instagram, the Just Dinner Podcast on Instagram.
I've seen some of the posts recently on Instagram.
Lots of fun stuff on there.
You got some interns.
They're doing some great stuff, a lot of fun stuff. And then you can also follow us on TikTok. A lot of those fun things go up on TikTok.
And so we're please on YouTube. The whole show, visual show, is on YouTube.
Yeah,
you can actually watch us.
Sophia is putting those up on YouTube so you can see
great.
What we look like and how happy we are to help you. So thank you guys for listening. Reach out to us. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And also, you can also send in your funny date stories or your questions at theitsjustdinnerpodcast@gmail.com. So thank you guys for being here with me. Thank you for listening.
Pleasure.
And hey, just go have fun out there, would you?